are on the road to WrestleMania. And the event that kicked that off happened this past Saturday in Tampa at Tropicana Field, the home of the Tampa Bay Rays, who get about the same attendance as the Round Rock Express here. AAA team for the Rangers, the world champion Texas Rangers. That's weird to say. And to help me break everything down that happened at the Rumble and afterwards, joining me on the hotline, he is the managing editor for WrestleZone.com. He is my good friend, Bill Pritchard. Bill, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
How was the trip to Tampa?
I'm finally starting to feel normal. I didn't sleep much this weekend.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
hmm
I get that too. So, uh, let's
After the presser, I got back to my room at like 2 a.m. and then I was up at 5 for my flight home. So
Oh wow.
it, yeah,
Those
finally.
pressers. It seems like it doesn't matter whether it's WWE or AEW. Those pressers go, late, really late.
Yeah.
So, before we get to the Rumble, let's talk because we haven't done an episode since it dropped. So on Thursday, Wall Street Journal reported that a lawsuit was filed against Vince McMahon, against John Laurinaitis, and against WWE by a former employee by the name of Janelle Grant, alleging, several counts of sexual assault, sexual misconduct, and mentioned sex trafficking, which that made my ears perk up. Needless to say, that was a pretty big bomb to drop, 48 hours before Royal Rumble. Go to Friday and we get the announcement that Vince McMahon has resigned from his role as executive chairman for the TKO Group board of directors, as well as all other roles within TKO and WWE. Bill, you were in the press conference after Royal Rumble, and I heard a few of our colleagues ask Triple H about the lawsuit. Did it feel to you, because I got this notion quite a bit, did it feel to you like he was not ready to answer those kinds of questions?
I think he expected it. He had to. Like whether he said he didn't read the lawsuit, but even still, like it's if it's not one of the top 5 stories like of the past 30 years, like it's up there. Like it's a huge scandal. Uh, there's a lot of fallout that could come from it, not just with Vince. Like I've heard rumors about what Endeavor wants to do with it. As far as like cleaning house with anybody that connected to him, we haven't seen any of that yet, but major news outlets are covering it. Like CNN's covering it. It's not just a wrestling story, so he had to expect it on some level. Whether he had like a prepared answer or not, I don't know, but he'd be naive to expect nobody to ask about it.
And that's what I believed. And I'm not going to go into specific. I read a little bit of the lawsuit, and I just couldn't stomach it, quite honestly. Um, I I would think you agree with me. This time, I made a comment when this came out. I tweeted out that this time it's going to stick, because you had him resign, quote unquote, 2 years ago, when lawsuits and allegations about NDAs and such, all that came out. Well, at that time, it was WWE was its own company, and he was in charge, and he left for about 6 months and then found his way back in, forced his way back in, as some would say. This time, WWE is now a subsidiary of a company, Endeavor, TKO Group. So while he was the executive chairman, he's not the final boss. And as you mentioned, Ari Emanuel from what I have read, and I haven't read as much as I should, but I've read some. From what I have read, Ari Emanuel is the type that is going to do what it takes to protect his company.
Mm-hmm.
And by extension, that means, WWE is a part of it, which means if Vince has got to go, Vince has got to go. And you talked about the house cleaning. And I do think that house cleaning will happen. I don't know when that is. Do you have a sense? Just we're just kind of, it's speculating, which I know is kind of dangerous to do, but I'm going to do it at least for this. Do you have a sense of when, if house cleaning is going to happen, when that could happen?
No, I think it's going to come out of nowhere, kind of like this lawsuit did, because you don't know what sort of investigation is going to happen. Like you said, uh, with his reputation, you don't know how far Ari Emanuel is going to take it, uh, who's involved. So I'm kind of like just expecting when it happens, when it, you know, we're going to hear about, here's whatever names were let go. And I agree with you where I'm trying not to like speculate too broadly, but you got to think it's going to be more than Vince that is going to be let go.
The only other thing I'm thinking, I'll kind of, after this we'll segue to the Rumble itself. But the other thing that I was thinking about, so in the lawsuit, these allegations were, I believe, 2019,
Mhm.
2020, something like that.
I think the first interaction between Janelle Grant and Vince was like March 2019.
Okay.
I think that's when she like applied for a job or they met at she was living in an apartment in the same building that he had his penthouse. And I think that's uh the building manager introduced them in I think March 2019.
So, and there, it may be a simple matter of, not enough evidence or something, but are do you think there's a possibility that we could see criminal charges against Vince, against John Laurinaitis? Um, because I gotta believe the allegations are likely within a statute of limitations in the state of Connecticut. Do you think there's a chance that criminal charges could come out of this?
Yeah, very possibly. I don't know how long that would be drawn out because you still have this civil. I think it's still a civil case. I don't know if they would pursue concurrently or if you would have like I don't know if you'd have to wait until one trial's over and then I'm not sure how that would all work out. But yeah, I think it's pretty possible. I mean, it, based on the allegations, there was this relationship going on between owner and employee. Like I I don't think it's just, hey, boys will be boys and I tried to pay somebody off. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's some damning stuff in that lawsuit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will.
One question I have left, and I didn't get to ask, but as far as Vince, and you kind of alluded to it,
Right.
I had my hand up at the press conference. I didn't get picked, but I want to know like what being I think he's still the majority stockholder, or he has a majority stake in WWE stock. Like, is his resignation all that needs to happen? Is there any other ties on the business side that need to be taken care of so that he's actually like out of the company, can't come back, can't force his way back in? Those are the things that I think need to be answered because he found a way back in last time. So what's stopping it from happening again?
I want to say I saw something from Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics
Mhm.
that I want to say that he, I guess, with the sale of WWE to Endeavor, and with he's sold off stock and all this good stuff. I don't think he is the majority shareholder anymore. And that's
Okay.
the thing. I don't understand if it. I'm not sure if WWE still has its own stock or now it's folded under TKO or Endeavor.
I think it's TKO.
Okay, see, I think if it's now TKO, if in other words, share there you can't there's no longer shares of WWE.
Mhm.
If it's TKO, I think in this, and I would defer to Brandon Thirst on this because he knows this stuff.
Mhm.
You and I both know he knows this stuff as well as anybody. I think he does not have a majority uh ownership
Okay.
in that company. So yeah, that means this time it's going to stick. He can't force his way back in. Uh, I mean, as far as we know, we're not going to see Vince in WWE.
Yeah.
For it. So
There's a
um,
lot of stuff that was ill advised.
it,
Like the
yeah,
thank you tour last year. Like we're not going to see any of that. It's just he's gone. So
you're right.
yeah.
Just bad. Let's get to some lighter topics. The Royal Rumble happened. You were there in Tampa at Tropicana Field. Uh, give me an overall letter grade, A to F.
B.
Okay.
Straight B.
Yeah.
The Rumble matches were a lot of fun. I liked the finish for KO and Logan Paul. It was a little confusing because you saw the guy, like I still don't know who he is, but I guess it was part of his entourage.
I believe
That
so. It didn't
yeah,
it didn't come across on the broadcast either.
yeah. So it was like figuring out who he was, and it took a long time because they were trying to get Grayson Waller and Austin Theory out there. The ending was fine. It was just setting it up was a little long in the tooth. Where I thought if they just hopped the guardrail beside the broadcast team, it would have been a lot quicker than having them come all the way down that ramp. So
Yeah.
and the fatal four way, the title match, that it's a Roman Reigns match at this point. For you take that however you like, for better or
Mm-hmm.
worse.
Yeah. It's what we come to expect. You'll have some hope spots towards the end, and then Solo comes in and interferes, and then Roman finds a way to get the pin. We've seen the formula countless times now. So, and I feel the same way. The two title matches in the middle, that they were what they were. The U.S. title match, yeah, it took a little long, but it did what it was supposed to do. The Rumble matches were fun. Um, give me your thoughts on Cody Rhodes and Bailey being the winners of those matches.
I like both choices, and I feel like a lot of people expected both of them to win the respective matches. And I don't think that the obvious choice is a bad thing here. Cody needs to finish the story. I still think he should have done it last year at WrestleMania, but this is clearly the plan all this year. So why deviate now? Like you need that payoff, or you run the risk of further alienating people if you already haven't. And then Bailey, I feel like, not only does she deserve it, but I think it's a smart choice because now you can kind of tease her going after Rhea Ripley,
Mm-hmm.
or you have the infighting with Damage Control. And I'm surprised that she's going to pick so soon, but uh, I think no matter what choice she makes, it's still a really, really compelling match that, in light of CM Punk's injury, could main event night one.
Yeah, and I want to get to that here in a second. I listed the surprises, so to speak, in both Rumble matches. You had Naomi coming back, not necessarily a surprise because we knew Trinity had finished up TNA. Everybody knew that she was coming back to WWE. So you had her. You had Jade Cargill make her debut, looking every bit the badass that we'd seen in AEW, and now saw it on Saturday night.
Mhm.
Um, Liv Morgan coming back from injury, Andrade making his return, and again, kind of like with Naomi, it was kind of expected. He finished up with AEW, and everybody expected him to come back.
Mhm.
The fun part was Jordan Grace, the current TNA
Yep.
Knockouts World Champion, and of course we had the moment with Jordan Grace and the woman she pinned for that title
Mhm.
in Naomi Trinity. So that was kind of cool. Give me your thoughts on the surprises that we saw in those Rumble matches.
Same as the winners, a lot of them were expected, but I still think the obvious choice, or I mean, it's not a choice in this case, but uh, I thought they all played their respective roles really well. Uh, Jordan's the one surprise I wish would have been a surprise because I saw Saturday morning, like earlier in the day, a few comments about the WWE TNA relationship, and it was kind of vague. So you're like, oh, somebody's going to show up. But then it was like flat out reported Jordan's going to be in the match. She posted the video like on, like no place like home trying to, and as soon as she posted that, you're like, all right, she kind of, that was her tell.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, I think she looked phenomenal. It's just sometimes you want to be a fan and not be in the know too much. And I
Right.
wish that one would have stayed a surprise, but I think she looked great. I actually read this today. I was surprised she didn't have any eliminations because I mean I was paying attention, but I guess I wasn't paying attention too much on Saturday. But I was shocked that she didn't have at least one or two. But I thought she looked fantastic.
Yeah. I'm there with you. She looked really good. I do wish she had had at least one or two eliminations. And we saw, Roxanne Perez, Tiffany Stratton, Carmella Hayes, and Braun Breaker from NXT in their respective matches. All in all, and we know, and we, you believe the report from Fightful. Braun Breaker was the fill in. It was supposed to be Brock Lesnar, but because Brock Lesnar was at least alluded to in the lawsuit,
Mhm.
it was thought, let's not put Brock Lesnar in there. So Braun Breaker got his spot, actually got his eliminations, got eliminated by Dominic Mysterio. So um of those four individuals, is there anybody that you wouldn't keep on the main roster?
As far as the NXT people,
Yeah, as far as NXT.
uh, I'd maybe say Tiffany Stratton could still do some more in NXT, but I don't know if I would necessarily keep them all there. I mean,
Yeah.
Braun Breaker seems like he's been ready for the main roster since day one. He never had a wrestling match before that, but I mean, he looks like a star. He sounds like his dad and his uncle,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a lot of charisma, which they love. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would leave anybody. Maybe just Tiffany because I feel like she could have some good feuds with some people down there.
I'm there with you. I think if they decided they wanted to keep them all on the main roster, I wouldn't be against it. I think you're right. I think Tiffany Stratton could have a little more fun in NXT. Um, we know CM Punk. It was down to Cody and CM Punk. Uh, Before that, it was Cody, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and Gunther.
Mhm.
And apparently CM Punk took that Future Shock DDT from Drew McIntyre, torn his right tricep. Uh, he announced on Raw that He's going to have surgery. He's going to miss WrestleMania. Is and we've seen CM Punk get injured a little more than often, in the
Yeah.
last year or two, combined with his time in AEW.
This is the
I
third one.
well, see, so it's the opposite. It's the opposite tricep that got torn in his match with Moxley.
Yeah, the left one was all
Right.
out, and then he right
Broke his
before that he
foot.
had the foot with
Right.
the dive off the stage. So three injuries in little more than 3
18 months,
years.
maybe. Yeah,
Yeah, something.
yeah, 2 years at least. I don't want to say it, but could this be a the wrestling gods trying to tell CM Punk, hey, maybe it's time?
Uh, yeah, I don't want to say it either because I like having him back. I'm
Yeah.
a fan, so I'm gonna be a little selfish in my answer, but yeah, it could be. It could be time.
I mean, I hope
You
it's
don't
not.
know. Yeah, I hope he gets. I hope he gets to end his WWE career on his terms,
Yeah.
and it you just got to look at it as far as you don't know what that 9 year layoff or 7 year layoff did to his body. I talked to him when he was doing season one of Heels, and he said that, he's not wrestling, but he's still in shape. And it's pretty much, it's not like he's ring shape compared to like whatever else he was doing. Like, it's still the same sort of style. I'm not sure what I'm trying to get at, but uh yeah, like it's not like he was letting himself go while he was sitting home. Like he was staying active, he was in shape, he did UFC. Uh he just maybe it was just like you said, maybe it's a sign. I don't know. I hope it's not.
I hope it's not either, but it definitely it's got to you got to imagine that thought is there, uh so Cody wins the Rumble after he does a salute to the Bucks and Kenny Omega, points to the sign, then immediately points over to Roman, says he's going to go after Roman. We get to Monday night. Cody comes out. He's going to do the promo. He's going to make it official. And then Seth Rollins' music hits. And here comes the World Heavyweight Champion out. And Seth basically pitches to have Cody face him at Mania instead of Roman. Says, facing Roman be a mistake. That's not the title you want. That's the Hulk Hogan title. It's the Hollywood title. Whereas the one I have is the workhorse title. It's the one your dad would have wanted. And and he made a convincing plea to Cody to where he says he's going to think about it. Now, Cody has announced, I think it went out about an hour or so ago, that he will be at SmackDown. So will Roman Reigns. So let me ask you, we, and you said it. This is, Cody hopefully gets to finally finish his story. It should have finished last year at Mania. Is this WWE trying to test Seth versus Cody if say The Rock comes in and says I want Roman? Well, of course they're going to give it to Roman,
Mhm.
to The Rock. Was this a matter of WWE trying to see what the fan reaction would be if it ended up being Seth versus Cody?
I saw this earlier, and I agree with it. I think it's a case of they know Roman's not going to be there the entire time to promote a match. So I think having a little dissension gives Cody something to do. And now it gives Seth something to do while he waits and see how his knee is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think 99% sure that The Rock's not wrestling this year, but I think this does give them a safety net. If because look how everybody said CM Punk's negotiations were literally last minute, no matter how long, like weeks ahead of time, people were like, "Oh yeah, he's coming back, he's not coming back," and it was like Triple H and Punk confirmed. It was down to the last minute. So who's to say The Rock doesn't do that this year? Who's to say Triple H, especially after Punk goes down, doesn't call and you know plead his case to make that match? But realistically, I think it's just they're trying to stall things because they know Roman's probably going to be there. What's there, like 8 weeks to Mania?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think
he's maybe going to be there 3 times,
yeah,
and that's being generous.
he's probably not going to Australia for
Nope.
Elimination Chamber. So yeah, you're right. You're looking at it's January 30th, so you're looking at just a little over 2 months, almost.
I think it's 67 days now.
Yeah, and so that's what seven, no,
Like 7 or 8 weeks.
8 weeks. That's 8 SmackDowns.
And you have
Or you
Roman
got him for this. Yeah, you got him for
this
this
week.
week.
They'll have him for the go home, and then it's like maybe if you're lucky, you get a third one in there
Right,
after, like probably the week after Elimination Chamber.
right. So let's go with, I'm with you. I'm 95% sure it's still going to be Cody versus Roman. Just because you're right. They've been writing this story for the last year. So assuming we don't have The Rock at WrestleMania, assuming it is going to be Cody versus Roman. We know that at least there was a plan for Seth versus CM Punk. That's not happening. So now who gets Seth? And I
I
know
think
they'll probably be like the Elimination Chamber winner gets Seth at Mania.
mhm.
Who wins Elimination Chamber and gets Seth at Mania?
I think you got to go with Drew at this point. I don't see. I mean, maybe you can say Gunther. I think his record and what is it, 14 months or however long he's had the title, like his record puts him in the conversation. But I think for as far as getting a lot of heat against Seth, I think you got to go with Drew. Like his promo last night attacking Punk,
Mm,
and then if you saw the meme today that he posted with the gravestone and CM Punk's WrestleMania dream,
right.
like I think you gotta at least put him in that conversation, even if uh yeah, even I think you could just maybe have him win the chamber decisively. I think you got to go with Drew right now.
It feels that way. The only knock I have on it is that we just saw Seth versus Drew. And
Yeah,
Seth
true.
won. What about a name that, for all intents and purposes, another return from injury, Sami Zayn.
I I'd watch it. I'm trying to like connect the dots in my head how we get there, but I
Well,
like the matchup. It feels fresh.
it does feel fresh. It would be odd because
They're
you
baby
got
faces.
babyface versus babyface. And yeah, connecting it would take a little bit of something. Gunther, again, if you believe the rumor innuendo, it was going to be Gunther versus Brock Lesnar. Well, that's not happening. So, what's the likelihood of making it title for title? In fact, I see title versus world title. Not the first time it's been done at Mania. I mean, Hogan and Warrior.
No. Yeah. And, these two guys are a lot better in-ring wrestlers than Hogan and Warrior were. So, you're going to get an actually better wrestling match.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
That could be interesting. I mean, we'll see. Friday night, we'll see if this clears up on SmackDown. We will also on SmackDown find out who Bayley's going to face. We know Bayley won the Women's Royal Rumble. It sounded like Monday night on Raw she was going to, she was going to formally challenge Rhea Ripley. Well, then here comes Nia Jax and beats up Rhea Ripley, and she all of a sudden changed her mind and says, I'll announce it Friday night on SmackDown. You mentioned Bayley versus Io Sky. And it feels like they've been kind of teasing maybe a little, dissension within Damage Control.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen it. I don't know if we've seen like a full out. Like they went down that path a little bit, then all of a sudden came back, and now everybody's hunky dory. So come Friday night, could you see them advance that storyline enough to where it would make sense? We figure Bayley is leaving or getting kicked out of Damage Control. Could we see some movement Friday night to at least further that along to where it will be Bayley versus Io Sky?
And that's why I said it earlier, and I was kind of reluctant that I'm surprised she's doing it this Friday, because I think you need to tease the dissension a little more. So I don't know if they can get there and have it, feel cohesive or not feel rushed. But I think Bayley and Rhea would be a really fun match. I don't know where they go with it.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I'm with you. It feels if it's Friday night, it feels way too rushed. And I know they've got to market something, but it just feels like if they could give it a week or two,
it might work.
and let's see if the breakup does happen, then go with that match. Otherwise, then again, like we mentioned, Bayley versus Rhea would be a great match. Except it also feels like Rhea has challengers from both Becky Lynch and Nia Jax.
Not to mention Elimination Chamber.
So it could be, and you got to imagine there's going to be a women's Elimination Chamber, and
I'm hoping because it's Australia that Rhea at least has a title match against Becky or Nia. So I see that. So I think you get I'm going to say you get a singles match at Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania. Just Rhea against maybe Becky. Actually, Rhea versus Becky would probably be the better Mania match. I'm going to say Rhea against Nia Jax at the Chamber, and now it kind of looks like Jade Cargill and Nia Jax at Mania. So
that would be fun.
So I think logically it makes sense for Bayley versus Io. It's just how do you get there?
Yeah.
You didn't give yourself enough time.
You're right. One other thing, we've had the commentary team shuffle again. Seems like for everything that WWE is doing right in the ring, their commentator thing has been absolute chaos. They just can't seem to sit on one versus another. So Monday nights, we get the news it's going to be Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. And apparently it's going forward, which kind of makes sense. Pat McAfee was on College Game Day this past season on ESPN, was doing some of the college football games. I think putting him on Monday nights would allow him to stay with Raw and still fulfill his ESPN duties on College Game Day. Go do College Game Day wherever on Saturday, then go to the Raw City, Sunday, or Monday. So we have that one set. At least reports are, we have not seen anything official from WWE yet, but there are multiple reports that are saying for SmackDown, it's going to be Corey Graves and Wade Barrett. Interesting combo. Neither one, as far as I know, has done play-by-play before, although I think Corey would be able to do play-by-play. Give me your thoughts on Corey and Wade being the SmackDown commentary team.
I think it's going to be interesting to see them find their dynamic because they're both color guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Corey's very capable of being a lead announcer. I mean, he pretty much has done WWE style his entire career since he announced his retirement in NXT. So I have faith that they can do those respective roles individually. It's just going to be what's the dynamic. I think you got to give them some time to sort of find their own voice and balance each other out. I don't think it's a case where you can judge them based on a week or two.
Let's hope they give them time because, again, as I said, it's felt a little chaotic here in the last several months with their commentary scene. But
I think this is Wade's like fourth move.
I believe so.
In about 4 years, because he even think about where he was before. He was with What Culture Pro, like he was doing outside WWE, and then he did NXT, SmackDown, Raw, SmackDown again. So it's a lot of.
They haven't kept his. They haven't kept his seat. They have not kept him in a seat very long. That's for sure.
No.
We'll see. We'll see on Friday night. I guess we'll hear it first then. So he is Bill Pritchard, managing editor for WrestleZone.com. Read everything they got. They do such a fantastic job. Bill, I appreciate the time, man. I hope to see you in Philadelphia. I'm sure we will talk before then. I am at least tentatively making my plans to be there. So, but I appreciate the time, man. All the best to you, and we'll talk again soon.
I will. If you're here, I'm here. I live Philly suburbs, so this is a home game for me coming up.
All right, there you go. Nice. All right,
I'm excited.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, talk to you soon.